If you're looking for a German sports car and you don't want to break the bank, let me point you to the Mercedes AMG C43, and you might know this as the competitor to the Audi S5 and S4 and the BMW M440i and the BMW M340i. Based on the configuration you get on this car, it can be had in a coupe, a sedan, or a cabriolet in case you're interested in that. And today, I'm going to be telling you why you should be buying one of these. I'm Aiden, and this is God Next. Now let's talk about the specs under the hood of this car, and then we'll get into the price. It is powered by a twin-turbo 3-liter V6. Of course, unfortunately, it is not the 4-liter bi-turbo V8, but that doesn't matter because this is still a pretty good engine, and you also have the bi-turbo badges on the side saying that this is a twin-turbo V6. It makes 385 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque, and it is all-wheel drive, which is also indicated by the 4MATIC badge on the side of the car as well. Now let's talk about price. New for this 2019 model year, this one started at $56,000 before options, and it's got quite a bit of options. Heated seats, it's got the upgraded leather, and it has some other little small upgrades on the steering wheel, other little tiny things that you really wouldn't notice. But now, depending on the configuration and the mileage of the car that you get, you could pick these up for anywhere around $32,000, $33,000, anywhere in the 30s. You might even find some in the low 40s based on the mileage and, like I said, the configuration of it. But they are cheap, and they tend to run cheaper than the M340 and M440 in the Audi models as well. And it makes more horsepower than the M340i, which makes 382 horsepower. Like I said, this makes 385, so you can always brag to your BMW friends about that 3 extra horsepower. Now, on the exterior of the C43, there are some things that kind of bother me. You have some uneven body lines and body panel gaps right up here, but overall I think it is a decent looking car as far as Mercedes goes. It's not my favorite brand out there, but the C43 and the C63 are great looking vehicles. Of course, you have the hexagonal grille design that you have up here with the AMG grille and these LED headlights, and it's a little more stanced out and aggressive looking compared to a normal C-Class coupe, which is nice. Of course, you have an electronic opening trunk in the back too, so it does have all the little creature comforts that you'd want out of a luxury German car, but it also maintains a sporty look, especially with these rims, and the brake calipers also say AMG on them, so everyone will know that you're driving an AMG. It's really good looking. Now, because you get the C43 on the back, you do get some other sporty stuff back here. Of course, the AMG badge and the C43 badge. You have this tiny little deck lid spoiler back here for better downforce, quote unquote. It's not really going to do much. And of course, you have these quad tip exhaust pipes back here that I'm almost pretty sure lead back to a single one. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. Here's what it sounds like. But yeah, I mean, it looks good, but it leads back to a single one. Now, if you're thinking about practicality when buying the coupe, which wouldn't make sense if you are, but it's got 10.5 cubic feet of cargo space back here, which is plenty. And of course, this is electronically closing as well, as it should be when you're spending new $56,000 on a car. Let's check out the interior and see what they've done in there. Now, in the interior of the C43, it is a nice place to be. As for technology, you get a large screen in the center with the MBUX system. It's okay. It doesn't have wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto unless you plug it in, and it can be kind of clumsy to use. I'm not a huge fan of it. iDrive and MMI, I think, are better systems than this. You have a gauge cluster in front of you. This one has the analog gauges, which they look okay. They look very similar to the C300s. I wish they didn't, but you can get a digital gauge cluster if you do find one with one optioned on it. It's not a standard option. It wasn't a standard option until I think the 23 models. But this one has an analog gauges. The steering wheel I really like, though. You have this 3-spoke / 4-spoke steering wheel based on how you look at it, with the AMG logo on the very bottom. It's silver. It's nice to grip onto. The leather's nice. Metallic shift paddles as well, just in case you care about that. That's nice. This one also has the Burmester surround sound system, heated seats, and leather basically spanning the entire cabin, which isn't a standard thing. You, of course, have to option it up to get that much leather on the interior of this, but it is nice. As for build quality, I've not noticed too many things that are bad about this car, but the creaks that you hear on social media, those are definitely real. This car tends to creak a little more than the Audi or BMW counterpart. It is a coupe, which means you do get the seatbelt that gets handed to you by an electronic mechanism that is in the B-pillar. You have a bunch of drive modes, Sport Plus, individual comfort. The storage space in here, of course, is going to be about as good as you think. I'm surprised that there is still an SD card reader in this, considering this came out in 2019, this specific one, and you would have thought they would have gotten rid of that. Now, the seats are nice and comfortable, sporty looking. They have Alcantara in the center for the inserts, leather on the outside with the red stitching. They are comfortable, adjustable headrest, adjustable thigh support. Basically, the entire thing is adjustable, but the back seats, I wouldn't store anyone back there. It looks like that's worse space back there than something like an S550 Mustang, so probably shouldn't store your passengers back there unless you really, really hate them. But I think we should get this thing on the road and see how it drives. All right, now I don't necessarily know why the C43 gets all the hate it does, because it feels like a quick car, and it handles well. I mean, I get the hate, oh, he bought the V6 model. I get that. It's so funny to make fun of the people who didn't get the full-fledged M or the AMG cars or the RS cars. But to be honest with you, this is really all you need in a daily situation. If you're looking for a car that still gets decent gas mileage, which this one does, it's about 23 combined, and the practicality is lackluster because it's a coupe, but you can't get it in a sedan, and you want the speed, this really does provide about every single thing you could want, and that's why they sell in the first place. Because a lot of people out there don't want to pay ridiculous prices for something like an M car or a full-fledged 63 model for an AMG, and it's still fast. And the exhaust sounds good, like surprisingly good. The downshifts are also nice and smooth, which is surprising because I'm not a huge fan of the 9-speed transmission from Mercedes, but every time you downshift, you get those nice cracks, and it just sounds so good for a V6, and this is stock. Nothing's been done to it. It sounds better than I think a stock M340i or S5 would be. I'm not entirely sure what the negative stigma is behind the 43 model if it is this fun to drive. This one's priced at $41,000, but they are available in the low 30s if you are interested in finding one and you don't care that much about mileage. They do have them in the low 30s, which it's the price of like a new RAV4 or a C43 AMG. I think I'd rather have the C43, to be 100% honest with you, and that's coming from a BMW fan. So if you're really looking for a fun car to have that handles decently well and sounds good and pops and bangs and has that awesome V6 in it that just is a good motor, then why not get one of these? It's not very expensive, and you can do things like this. And that was the C43. Now, if you've seen the channel before, you know I am a big BMW fan, but I will admit that this is a good value option if you're looking for a mid-tier sports car out of Germany, even compared to the M340i and the S4 and S5 and the M440i, just in case. Depending on the variant, there's so many of them, and there's so many ways to have each one of those cars. I do think it is a good value. It makes good power, and even though all these C63 people out there will be making fun of you if you get a C43, it is definitely the most scrutinized out of all the mid-tier sports cars from the German brands. The C43 just gets the most hate out of all of them. Ignore all of that, because it is still a great car. It's still really fun to drive, and it is decently quick as well. If you guys liked the video, make sure you hit that like button down below, and if you want to see more from us, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you all in the next video.